Before the click, there was only the slow decay of memory. Before the silver halide crystal bloomed into being, there was only the artist's hand, the storyteller's voice, the fading echo in the architecture of the mind. The past was a fluid country, its borders redrawn with every telling, its landscapes repainted by nostalgia, regret, or fancy. It was a world rendered not by the indifferent lens of physics, but by the biased, beautiful, and tragically fallible brush of human consciousness we lived inside our stories. Reality was a negotiation between what had been and what we chose to remember. Then, a man decided to trap the light. This is not a story about invention, not in the clean, triumphant way we tell such tales. It is not a story of gears and patents and linear progress. It is a ghost story. It is a story of alchemy, of a strange and obsessive quest to grant a mirror a memory, to force a moment to hold its breath indefinitely. This is the story of the first photograph, a rupture in the fabric of time so profound that we, its inheritors, have yet to fully comprehend the tremor of its rival. The central mystery is not how humanity captured an image, but what was irrevocably altered within us when we first looked upon that silent, silvered ghost and saw not a painting, not a sketch, but a piece of yesterday, stolen from the flow of time and held, impossibly, in our hands. I, the alchemist, stain imaging a room in the French countryside, sometime around 1826. The air is thick with the scent of lavender and bitumen, a strange industrial perfume. A man, Joseph Nicephore Niepce, is not an artist, but a gentleman inventor, a pursuer of strange and commercially inviable obsessions for years. He has been chasing a phantom, heliography, or sunwriting. The idea is both simple and blasphemous. He believes he can coat a pewter plate with a light-sensitive asphalt pointed at the world, and let the sun itself become the artist. The result of his obsession is a small, unremarkable plate, now nestled in a climate-controlled vault, an artifact, more akin to a religious relic than a piece of art. It is called View from the Window at La Grasse. To look upon it is to be disappointed at first. It is a smudge, a murky, indistinct arrangement of ghostly shapes and brooding shadows. It lacks the instant clarity of a modern photograph, the crisp drama we have come to demand from our images. One might even dismiss it, but to dismiss it is to miss the spell. Look closer. That is not an instant. That is not a snapshot. That is a monument to duration. The plate sat in that window for at least 8 hours, perhaps days. As the sun arced across the sky, it burned its path into the bitumen. The light striking the barn on the left, and the light striking the wing of the house on the right are from different times of day. The image does not depict a moment, it depicts an entire day, compressed into a single, spectral plane. The shadows are impossible, schizophrenic. They fall from two directions at once. This is not a picture of a place. It is a stain that time itself left behind. Niepce had not frozen a moment. He had captured the very passage of time, its slow, inexorable crawl. His photograph is not a window, but a palimpsest, a surface upon which ours were written and rewritten, until they blurred into a single, ghostly utterance. It is the first evidence that reality could be made to testify against its own fleeting nature. It is a quiet, grainy, profoundly unsettling miracle. It whispers a new and terrible truth. The world leaves a trace, and that trace can be held. The past was no longer merely a story, it had become an object. 2. The silver mirror with the Saul Niepce's murky alchemy was a beginning. But it was not the revolution. The revolution came in a Parisian theater of illusions from a showman who understood spectacle, magic, and the power of a dramatic reveal. Louis-Jacques Daguerre was Niepce's partner, and later, his rival, where Niepce was a patient, obsessive tinkerer. Daguerre was a master of effect. He took Niepce's sunwriting and transformed it into something sharp, uncanny, and mesmerizing. He abandoned the slow bitumen for a sheet of silver-plated copper, polished to a perfect, flawless mirror. He fumed it with iodine vapor, making its surface exquisitely sensitive to light. After a much shorter exposure, he would take the plate to a dark room, and here is the moment of pure sorcery. Bathe it in the fumes of heated mercury, and then the ghost would appear. Imagine witnessing this for the first time. You hand the artist a perfect, blank mirror. He places it in a box, points it at you for an unnervingly long time, then disappears into the shadows. He returns not with a painting, but with the same mirror. Yet something has changed. On its surface, a phantom now resides. It is you, not a painter's interpretation of you, with its flattering lines and romanticized gaze, but an exact, pitiless double. Every stray hair, every subtle worry in the brow, every imperfection you hoped the world would overlook, is there, etched in quicksilver. The mirror, it seems, has remembered. The daguerreotype was not an image on a surface, it was an image of the surface. It was a physical change in the mirror itself, a memory fused into the metal. To see one is an eerie experience. You must tilt it in the light, finding the right angle for the image to resolve itself from the reflective glare. In one moment, you see your own reflection. In the next, the face of a person dead for 170 years stares back. You share the same space, superimposed, to moments occupying a single plane. It is an encounter. This was the true rupture. Was the daguerreotype truth? The world certainly thought so. A writer of the time exclaimed from this day, "Painting is dead." It seemed an absurd overstatement, yet it held the kernel of a terrifying new reality. A painting, no matter how realistic, is always a statement of presence. The artist was here, and this is what he saw and felt. The photograph, however, was a statement of absence. The light was there, the subject was there, but the image itself felt as if it had simply occurred. It bypassed the flawed vessel of human interpretation. It presented itself as evidence, as a direct transmission from the real. But was it? Or was it simply a more seductive, more powerful form of illusion? The long exposure times meant that anything that moved, that lived and breathed and fidgeted, was rendered invisible. The daguerreotype saw only the still, the posed, the dead. It saw a version of reality, but reality scrubbed clean of its messy, chaotic, vibrant motion. It gave us a new truth, yes, but a truth that was silent, static, and haunted. The specters on the Boulevard consider Daguerre's most famous image. Boulevard du Temple, taken in 1838. At first glance, it is an empty Parisian street scene. The buildings are rendered in exquisite detail, the trees sharp against the sky. It feels serene, strangely post-apocalyptic, but this was a major thoroughfare, teeming with the life of a great metropolis. Garages, pedestrians, merchants, children, where did they all go? They were erased by time, moving too quickly for the slow chemistry of the plate. The entire vibrant life of the city became a legion of ghosts, their passage noted only by the faintest of blurs and unseen energy. But look, in the bottom left corner, two figures, a man having his boots shined, and the bootblack tending to him, by an accident of commerce. They alone remain still long enough to be recorded, to be written into being by the light. This single photograph is a profound meditation on existence. It inadvertently captured the nature of this new medium. Photography did not see the world as we do, a continuous flow of interwoven life. It saw a world of the static and the ephemeral. It revealed that reality was composed of a million unseen ghosts, and the few who, by chance or design, stood still. It is perhaps the most honest ghost photograph ever taken. We are the bustling, invisible crowd. History, the image suggests, belongs to those who hold their pose. This newfound power to see and to not see change everything for the first time. The real world could be packaged and transported. The bloody battlefields of the Crimean War, once filtered through the heroic prose of journalists, now appeared on parlor tables as stark, muddy, and inglorious landscapes of death. The faces of Abraham Lincoln or Edgar Allan Poe, once known only through painted portraits that sought to capture an inner nobility, were now revealed in all their weary, mortal, and asymmetrical humanity. The photograph showed that heroes had bad hair days. It showed that saints had wrinkles. It democratized imperfection, and in doing so, it altered our relationship with the past and with the dead. The painted portrait of an ancestor was a tribute, an icon. The photograph was a presence. That person was there. That was their face, their dress. The light that fell on them on a Tuesday afternoon in 1852, it transformed memory from a personal, internal process into a collective, external archive. We no longer had to simply remember our dead. We could visit them. We could look into their unblinking eyes, forever held in a silver gaze, and feel the chilling, comforting proximity of a time we could never touch. The photograph did not conquer death, but it offered a new and powerful form of haunting for the unending echo from that heavy, mercurial plate to the weightless data of each peg. The lineage is direct. The spell Daguerre cast, the instantaneous capture and replication of a moment, has become the background radiation of modern life. We are saturated with images. We produce billions of them every day. A digital blizzard of moments captured, shared, and forgotten with a flick of a thumb. The magic has become mundane. But has the core of the spell been broken? Or has it simply mutated into something more pervasive, more insidious? The first photographs were difficult. They required patience, expertise, and a physical wrestling with the elements. The rarity of the image imbued it with a sense of aura, of significance. A family in the 19th century might possess only a single photograph of themselves, a solemn totem to be treasured and passed down. Today, we possess thousands. Our phones are not cameras. They are vast, disorganized mausoleums of our own lived experience. The original promise of photography was that it would stop time, allowing us to savor a moment. But has the opposite occurred? Has the relentless drive to document every sunrise, every meal, every fleeting smile, fractured our ability to experience the moment itself? We have become so obsessed with creating the echo that we miss the sound of the original voice. We see the world through a 6-inch screen, framing and filtering reality before we have even had a chance to live it. The act of freezing time has become a nervous tick, a compulsive hoarding of visual data that paradoxically distances us from the temporal flow. It was meant to preserve. Niepce's ATAR exposure was an act of profound attention. Our 1/60th of a second snap is an act of fleeting acquisition. The daguerreotype's truth was unsettling because of its stark otherness. Our digital truth is unsettling because of its endless malleability. We smooth the skin, saturate the colors, and curate our lives into a seamless fiction. The photograph, once hailed as the death of painting, has ironically become a painter's tool, used not to record reality, but to construct a more pleasing version of it. The lie has become more sophisticated, hiding behind a veneer of photographic proof. The first photograph was a crack in the mirror of the world. It showed us that time could be held, that ghosts were real, and that truth was a far stranger and more slippery thing than we had ever imagined. It gave us a new way to see, but it also taught us to distrust our own memories, to value the external, record over the internal feeling. It armed us with evidence, but it burdened us with archives. Now, we stand at the other end of that history, drowning in the flood that began as a single, miraculous drop. The spell is no longer rare, it is everywhere. It is the air we breathe, lying in bed in the dark, bathed in the ghostly glow of a screen. We scroll through the faces of friends, the landscapes of our past, the curated moments of strangers. We are doing what that first viewer of a daguerreotype did, staring into a silvered surface and seeing a reflection of a life. But the question that haunts the silence of that room is not the one daguerre or Neeps could have ever conceived. They wanted to know if they could capture the world. We are left to wonder if, in capturing everything, we have lost our ability to hold on to anything at all. The ghost that escaped from that first pewter plate is no longer just a smudge of a French barn. It is us, and as we look at our own endless, silent images, we might ask, which is the reflection and which is the ghost?
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.